Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. This is gonna be so fun. I'm so excited. What I've got here is my birthday present. Everybody chipped in and bought me a 6-inch lift kit. So let's open this bad boy up and see what we got. All right, here we go. Ooh, wow, that is packaged really nice. I'm gonna need my knife still. Let's go ahead and just open a bunch of these up. Yeah, they did a good job packaging this. They're all powder coated. So this is going on a 2007 Club Car 6-seater. So these would be for the back. Check these out. Oh yeah, look at that bad boy. So these, the shocks. So this is a coilover shocks lift kit. So I've got 2 of these. Gotta say, I was surprised how small the box was for this kit. But it's heavy, that's for sure, 75 pounds. Oh, there's 2 plates for the back. See, I'm holding that backwards. There you go. There's the main big piece. Got your A-arms. It might take as long to unbox it as put it on your golf cart. Look at that, that's nice. Yeah. Cool. Let's put that, I guess, right. Still got more to come. Some other spacers. Here's your steering piece. Steering extender there. What do we have here? Probably more steering stuff. Oh, there would be those, the bolts. Your U-bolts. Those will go with those. There's a few nuts and bolts in here. Okay, and finally, there's the instructions. You know we're not gonna need those. All right, let's put these on. Got my tools laid out for this project. I've got my jack stands, sockets, impact, smaller impact, and all my sockets and wrenches. I think this is everything I need, and of course the most important part, rolly stool for me and a rolly stool for my camera guy. And of course I am missing my 10mm. Isn't that just how it goes? So first thing you do, unhook your battery. This is going to be super easy. I don't even have a battery in here. Okay, that's done. Check. I think it's time for a break. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Have you guys seen Solar Powered Adventures? Gosh, so funny. Well, all right, I guess I should get to work. These carts don't build themselves, but it's very important. It's July, and you got to make sure you take some time and get yourself some water. Don't get dehydrated when you're doing these projects. All right, let's do this. Okay, we're gonna block the tires now, getting ready to jack this thing up. All right, jack it up. Jack stands. Lower it down. All right, now pull off the hubcap, lug nuts. Off comes the tire. Look at that. Gonna pull off the spindle. Wow, how easy is that? Need a 13/16. Easy peasy. Look at that, it rolls so good. All right, I think we're actually gonna set that up here. Be a minute before we need it. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Time to pull off the bumper. We've got a 1/2-inch socket, deep socket. Nice big tip Phillips. There's your bumper. So I like to put the nuts back on here just loosely so I know where they go and they're with it when it's ready to go back on. All right, you're gonna pull these push pins out as well. These ones aren't really on there very well to start with. Yeah, those could use new ones. All right, we're ready for the next step. Only problem is I don't know what it is, so I guess I'm gonna have to go get the directions after all. Here's the directions. Check, check. We are on this part. Remove steering joint as indicated. Simple enough, a child could do it. So you need a 12mm for these. Now we're going to remove all the tie rod ends. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've got a 9/16. All right, now I'm going to tap it with a hammer. I don't want metal fragments getting in my eyes. So I put the castle nut back on here so I don't damage the threads. Kind of got bottomed right out with the threads. And I'll just tap that. Just like that. So you could use a pickle fork, but I find with the pickle fork you damage the rubber on these. 1 down, 2 more to go. Can't get a good swing on that one. I've got my needle nose right here. All right, now this one. That's how it's done. Step 5, remove front leaf spring assembly from cart. So for that, we need 9/16 socket, 9/16 wrench. Pull these off. There you go. So these are all 9/16 bolts as well. Voila! Step 6, remove delta structure from cart frame. For that, you need a creeper. Get comfy, try not to fall asleep. These are all 9/16 as well. So if you push this up out of the way, you can get your wrench into there. Other side. Okay, that should just come out now. I see I didn't unhook that yet because I figured it'd probably be easier to pull it out or get it off when I pull the whole assembly out. So these got to come all the way out because it's got that groove in there. Okay. Mission accomplished. Step 7, remove rack and pinion from factory structure. Keep your rack and pinion. Removal process is finished. So this is the final step on the removal. It's the same 9/16. Yep, that's pretty easy. Remove that. Some dumb rat got in there and chewed these up, thinking it's going to build itself a nest in there. Look at that, it's all scratched up there too. Okay, I'll put these back on here so I don't lose them. And it's time to start assembling. Woohoo! First part of reassembling, I'm gonna have to fix this. I'll use some starting fluid to get this rubber boot cleaned up really well. So these boots, they're dust covers or bellows, but they're on Amazon. They're about $16. Got one ordered, but until it gets here, we're just gonna put this back together. So I'm using black gasket sealer. So we're gluing this now so it can start drying while we assemble everything else. So I'm just turning the steering box here to squeeze that boot in, and we'll let that dry for a while. Step 8, we're gonna put the top shock mount in the cart frame, making sure we put it in the right way. Just pretty easy, just like that. There's the front, slide it up in there. Okay, well, that was easy. Now, step 9. I think this is going to be a little more challenging because we are going to mount this whole bottom piece on there now. Okay, so we'll grab the bottom piece. And so here's the nice thing. All your hardware is in baggies separated. Number 1, that's our hardware. This is our nuts and bolts for this part of the build. Okay, I'm going to start with these 2 bolts. Put one here. You put washers on these and drop them in. Okay, back on my creeper. Let's see if we can get this put on here. So far, so good. I'll put one of these. I'm going to go kitty corner and slide one of these up into here. Okay, it's held. You can see those 2 bolts go down, these 2 bolts go up. All right, this last one here is going to put this rack and pinion bracket on there. Okay, got that all sitting there. All right, baggie 2 has the bolt you need for the rack and pinion. This is actually step 10, it's just this one bolt. You're gonna drop it in from the top, put your washer and nut on from the bottom. Okay, now we just gotta snug all those up. To snug these up, I need an extension. These are all 9/16 as well. But you see this extension is made so that your socket has some play in there so that you can get up on an offset bolt. So I'm just snugging these for now, and then I'll go back around and tighten them up good and tight. Okay, let's start tightening them up more. Okay, that snugs them all up good and tight. So at this point, I'm going to wait for the shade of those trees to get over here. That'll give this a little more time to dry, and then we'll assemble that. Look at us, we're in the shade. It's nice. It was up to 108 at the hottest part of the day. Now it's cooled down to a nice 102 in the shade. So nice. So now we're on 11. We are going to remove factory tie rod end, and we're going to replace it with this one. So we are on hardware bag 3. I'm going to take some vice grips. I got the pipe wrench out too in case the vice grips don't hold it good enough. We got to put that on there and loosen this nut right here. There we go. That wasn't too bad. And then that can come off. As you can see, that gasket maker's all sealed up nice now. Nice and dry. Yeah, I guess you could just keep that one on there. It looks like it's got another one. Oh yeah, I'm just going to leave that on there and put this on. So the factory ones are greasable, and these ones aren't. Yeah, see, that's kind of small. This one's nice and fat. I'm just going to kind of hand tighten like so, because we're going to have to move that around and do an alignment and everything, and then lock it down. So there it is. Okay, we're on 12. Attach low end of supplied steering shaft. And then you're gonna put this on the low side, and then you're gonna attach it up onto the steering column. But first, gotta have it fall apart. So this is the low side. Pull that bolt all the way out. Slide that in, slide that back in. So I'm just throwing it together and then align it all afterwards. Okay, so these ones are 13 millimeter. Okay, and now we're gonna put it on. Gonna slide on up in here. Put your nuts on there. Well, hardware bag 4 is for your rack and pinion. I already used the old ones, so I guess I got an extra bag of parts. Okay, we're gonna put this steering column on. After I pull this bolt out, of course. Oh, so this is grooved in just one spot. So it can only go on one way, like so. And then you can't get that on because I put this on. Go away. Go away. You're slobbering on me. That like that. It's in here. Okay, tighten that up. So 13 was bolting in the rack and pinion. Now we are on to 14. Just take out all of the bolts that are in the spindles. Easy enough. 3/8 Allen wrench. Oh, they're long. Okay, that's done. All right, we're on 15. We're going to use these bolts that we took out and these and attach them onto this spindle. But that was pretty snug. Okay, these you're going to put nuts on them and put them through this shock. But you need washers on there. Okay, so then some washers, then onto here. Then washers again. Now we are on 16. We're going to be using hardware from both bag 5 and 6. Time to cut that. So your smaller bolt's going up top. Another. Yeah, the bigger one goes down here. Now we're tightening up the top. I'm using a 15 and a 16 millimeter sockets. Okay, so that's got one side done. Now you just repeat that same process on the right hand side. 17, you're going to attach the supplied tie rod end, which we put on here. And you're also going to put in your factory tie rod ends onto the metal bar supplied and put those in. I've gone ahead and I've already done that. So here we are sitting in there. But I don't have it bolted down. It's just sitting in there so that I can adjust it if I need to when I do the alignment. Last thing you're going to do is an alignment. And so I've got that sitting there. And I've already put in this rod with the other 2 tie rod ends. And these I've got loose. I can spin this still and adjust my toe in and my toe out. And then I'll lock these up. And these are loose too, so I can adjust this last thing as well. So that's all done. I did have to loosen the bolts in here on the bracket that holds the rack and pinion because there is a little bit of movement in this rack and pinion bracket. And so I actually loosened it up so I could line it up so it was in the right spot. And I cinched them down good and tight. So that's done. So we are ready to move on to attach the SGC plate. So we'll do that with hardware bag number 8. So you've got a Phillips head screw, like this, and then you've got a nut and a washer to go on the back side. Do that again over here. There we go. So it's a 13 millimeter. We're on 19. Reattach front hubs. Oh, look at that. It's snug. Yeah, that fits really nice. That's what you want. You don't want a lot of play in that. Put your nut on there. Wonder if I put that on there too tight. Yeah, probably not as tight as I did. There you go. Pop the cap on there. Repeat that on the other side. So I haven't been able to get bigger tires for the 6-seater yet, so I'm still in these tires off of the Easy Go. There you go, it looks amazing. These are 22-inch tires. We actually want to put 23-inch tires on here. You can definitely tell the alignment's off, but we'll work on that after we put the back end in. I think we're gonna have to find some jumps. All right, let's do this rear end lift. So I've already got the golf cart jacked up. I'm on jack stands, ready to do this. I've actually started on the other side, working on it. Now, the reason I started working on it is to kind of get a feel for the easiest way to do this, because the directions are pretty light on the back end. Pull the tire off, pull all the bolts out, put all this on, tighten everything up. And that's your directions for the back end. And here's the problem. Is this axle, you've got to take the leaf springs underneath and you're going to put it on top of it. And so this axle is too, well, I don't know if it's too heavy, but it's too awkward to unbolt all this and then try to slide the axle out and back in, because you've got wires to your motor and these fenders right here. See there's not enough room to actually pull this hub through that. And so I found the best way to do this is actually pull the leaf spring off. You got a bolt here and a bolt here, and you can just pull your entire leaf spring off and then just put it on top. So here we are. I've started working on this side. I took it all apart, switched everything around, put it back together, and I've got these just loosely put together because I can't tighten them up, because look at this angle. We're on such an angle. I've got to do the other side before I can finish this side. As you can see here, I don't even have the leaf spring hooked up onto the back end to have it up higher, so that this is on a little bit less of an angle. So we're going to start working on the other side. So you got to pull off this little clip that's holding the brake cable, because this cable is going to have to go this way more in order to have enough slack to drop that axle down. Now I'm going to get right down here. I had to get off my rolly stool to do this. We're going to start by pulling off the shock. That definitely dropped us down a little more. Now we're going to pull the U-bolt. This is a 5/8 socket here. The shock was a 9/16. All right, we're going to jump to the other side and put that other bolt in now. So I've got the axle supported with the jack, but it's dropped down enough now we can get this bolt in. That twist on there is making that hard to line up, for sure. Okay, I'm using my crescent wrench, try to pull some of that twist out of that leaf spring. See if I can get that to go in. Okay, and that is 9/16. It's like working on an automobile. It seems like almost everything is a 15 millimeter. On a golf cart, everything's 9/16. Okay, so I've got my leaf spring tightened up. This is tightened up, that's tightened up. That's just loose for now. Now we can work on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna put these back on that shock just so I don't lose them. U-bolt off. Okay, it is time to pull this leaf spring. Just take these off real quick. Sometimes it's easier to get them to come out by using the threads to just thread them out. We need an extension. There you go. That's how it's done. Now that is loose. I pulled this off. It's just stuck on there. There we go. On the other side, I took the brake cable off actually and hooked it here, but I don't think you need to. So I'm just leaving it on this side. Looks like we can let the jack down a little, or I should say actually a lot. Wow, look at that. That's way down there. So here on 22, we're going to be using hardware bag 9 and 10. 9 is just these little bolts here, and they just go on these plates to help line it up when you're putting it together. So you just can twist that onto there with an 11 millimeter. That's all there is to that. And then the last bag of hardware 10 is our U-bolt. And we're gonna need these pieces. Time to start stacking all this stuff in there. I'm gonna start with the shock. Fold those two up. So you put a rubber boot on the top and one on the bottom. These are definitely getting worn. I'm sure these shocks have never been changed. So that's another thing we need to do is change out these shocks. Okay. Now I'm just hand tightening everything for now. We're gonna slide this piece in. Now see, it's higher on one side than the other, and you want it to slope towards the front of the golf cart. And it just fits right in here like this. See, that's so nice. This, you're gonna put bolt side up. You're gonna take this plate that came on the golf cart, slide that up like that. Now it's time to jack it up. When it's coming up, you wanna line that up so that slides right in there like that. That's gonna go like so. Now we're gonna drop this U-bolt down through everything. These nuts on. That is, put these nuts on with washers. This whole stack kind of wants to slide around and stuff while you're doing this. Okay, so I got my 5/8 on here. Now you want to tighten these up evenly. You do some on there, some over on here. I'm not sure if that's supposed to sit sideways like that. Probably. It does have the shock fairly good. So we'll tighten up that shock now. Okay, we've got to tighten these up some more, but I got to find a deeper socket. So I had to jack it up a lot more. I've got them jack stands right on the axle now to get up high enough so I can get my deep socket on these. So you kind of look at the length on these and try to make them the same. That feels pretty good. It is good and tight. One side done. So you just got to repeat that on the other side. You're going to want to do a double check, make sure everything's tight. And we've done that. Everything is tight. It's time for tires. All right, let's get off these jack stands. Down she goes. All right, let's see what that looks like. Look at that. Wow. Look how tall that thing is. I should have measured it before and after. Now we'll give you the fun part. The alignment on the front end. Last page, alignment. First we're going to do the camber. So use a framing square, but as you can see, mine's not big enough. That don't do me any good. So I'm going to use a piece of drywall. Now see, this is a factory edge here. That's a factory edge there. So it is square. As you can see that, the tire, top of that tire has got to go in a little bit. So the top is basically bottomed out. So I'm going to have to bring the bottom out a little bit. Got to loosen this nut. That's moving the bottom. It's moving it. That actually looks pretty good. So now we can tighten up all of these. I like how these have these adjustments. Okay, now we'll do the other side. So same thing on the other side. Okay, now we're going to adjust the toe. You want it basically as straight as you can get it. Now golf carts, you actually have them towed out. And so we want it a 1/4 inch to 3/8 towed out. So you want the front measurement to be larger than the back measurement, which these are obviously towed out quite a bit. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start twisting this and bringing them closer before I even start. You just turn that and it's turning your toe on both tires at the same time. Yeah, that looks better already. Now we're going to pick a point to measure to, which will probably be, they're worn so different. We'll go inside tread into these treads, so 37.5 inches. Now we'll take a measurement on the back. We are at 36 3/4, so we want to go probably like a 1/4 inch. So now we're at 37 inches. Measure the front. 37 1/4. Right on. So now I've just got to tighten these nuts down to lock it all in place. Look how nice this is jacked up. I can just climb right under here, work on it. It's like a truck now. We turned it from a car to a truck. Yeah, I can get it better like this. Okay, so if you put a wrench on here, it's got that groove for your wrench. Then you can put your wrench on here. Snug. Oh, that up. I'll do this side. We want that. Loosen that up just a little bit. We want these tie rods, they're straight like that. Now we'll snug that up. Okay, that's how it's done. Now we just got to adjust the steering wheel. Okay, to straighten out the steering wheel, I've got my hammer weighing down the bottom of the steering wheel so that it stays how it's supposed to be. Now we're going underneath, and I pulled this off, and we're going to put it back on now. You see, this has got lots of adjustment here. It doesn't have a certain way. You can put the bolt on anyway, and this is the same. So we got to put it up on here. And now we just got to tighten up this, put that in, tighten it up, and then we're going to fine tune it with this over here. I still got to snug this up. So after adjusting the steering wheel, this is actually good. So I'm just tightening this up now. Tighten up that. You take a 15 millimeter to hold the top there, a 3/4 on this. It looks like a 3/4 on that as well. So we'll snug this up. Oh, all right. Now that is the alignment. Well, you want to drive it, bounce it around, drive it a bit, and then check it all again after a little bit. So we'll check it again after we've driven it for a little while. So I've got some nice new push pins to hold this on, this bumper on. Now in the book it says to put the bumper on sooner than this, but I left it off because I just wasn't sure if it was going to be in the way with the alignment. It obviously isn't. Could have went on sooner. Well, that went real nice and easy. This is the first lift kit I've ever done, and they're pretty easy to do. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. We're doing a lot more lift kits. We've got a lot more golf carts that need them because we're going crazy trails on our adventure videos. That's why we're putting lift kits on everything. So I'm super excited to take this out test driving, but we're gonna make an entire separate video of that, and we're gonna do some crazy stuff on that test drive. We're gonna speed, and we're gonna drive up some mountains. We'll probably do some tests on how much watts we're taking to climb and everything. So it's gonna be great. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.